Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to expert sharing session on technology used for language assessment held by Indonesian ESP teachers community. In this moment, I would like to extend our greetings to Bapak Made Hery Santosa, Ph.D. from Universitas Pendidikan Ganesha, who will be the keynote speaker in this event. And welcome Ibu Lulu Iswati M. Hum as the chair of Indonesian ESP teachers community, and Ibu Erni Dwi Rianti M. Hum from Universitas Islam Indonesia, who will be the moderator for this expert sharing session. For all participants and behind the scene teams of the sharing session. My name is Hery Panji and I will be the host in this sharing session. Please allow me to read the agenda for today. Number one, we are going to have an opening remark from the chair of Indonesian ESP teachers community, and then after that we will have to sing the national anthem Indonesia Raya and presentation session on technology use for language assessment from Bapak Made Hery Santosa, Ph.D. And after that, we will have an announcement. So announcement for the surprise gift. So later, by the end of the session, we will have some special gifts for lucky participant. And finally, for the last agenda, we will close the agenda. And so please relax and enjoy the rest of the session. Yeah, I hope this expert sharing session will be fruitful and engaging for everyone. So ladies and gentlemen, to start, before we start the sharing session, let's say a prayer. Prayer begins. Finish? All right, to kick off the sharing session, we are pleased to have with us our chairperson of the Indonesian ESP teachers community, Ibu Lulu. Opening remarks. Ibu Lulu, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Mas Panji. The honorable invited guests, Pak Made Hery Santosa, Ph.D., and all of my fellows and members of the ESP community. Good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm grateful that on this occasion we are able to organize our third expert sharing session. Let's greet and extend our warmest welcome to our distinguished speaker today, Pak Made. Welcome, Pak Made. Welcome to our community. We are happy to have you here finally.
Yeah,
okay.
Me too. Yeah, thank you.
Today, Pak Made will share his insights and experience, especially in the use of ICT or technology for language assessment. And let me also greet and thanks the committee members who have been volunteering to prepare everything to make this session take place, and also to the community members who have supported so far and showed their enthusiasm in participating in every event that we organize. Finally, on behalf of the ESP community, I extend my sincere gratitude once more to Pak Made, who is willing to share his talk today with us. I hope and I'm very sure that we will gain a lot of insights from his talk today. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ibu Lulu. It was a very energetic opening remarks. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are now about to sing our national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Please be ready on your seat in honor for our national anthem.
Nggak ada suaranya ya ini panitia.
Halo?
Yeah, I think there's some sound.
Share sound, Mas Ari. Keluar, Mas, suaranya?
Nggak ada, di saya nggak ada, Bu. Suaranya masih mute.
Share computer sound.
I'm sorry, I think I have to repeat this. Sorry for the technical problem.
And now we will hold a photo session. So for the keynote speakers and all participants, you are welcome to take a position. maybe will help us to take the photo. Pak Teguh, you can help us to take the picture. Screenshot ya. You still mute, Pak Teguh.
Yeah, Ibu Yeni, could you please help to take picture? Maybe we can take picture. Oh, then. All right.
Ada 1, 2, 3 nih.
Iya.
Oke, mungkin kita hitung bisa diulang Pak Panji.
3, 2, 1, please. Okay. Roll 2. 1, 2, 3. Please open the camera. I think there are many are still off cam. 1, 2. 1, 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Yeni, for the photo session. And the next agenda is the presentation on technology used for language assessment from Bapak Made Hery Santosa, Ph.D. and the moderator is Ibu Erni. We kindly invite you to the session and the floor is yours.
Mbak Erni, your microphone.
Hello,
Ibu.
is it working now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
right.
it is.
Several technological difficulties here this morning. I'm sweating now. Okay, thank you. So sorry for the issues. Thank you very much for making the time this morning. Maybe it's a bit late in the morning for Pak Made there in Bali, ya Pak Made. Thank you very much for squeezing your time in between your activities to have a discussion with us, with the Indonesian ESP teachers community. Today we are going to discuss about technology used for language assessment. But before we start, allow me to curhat sedikit ya Pak Made about what happened in my class in terms of assessment. So sometime last year, in my university, in Universitas Islam Indonesia, we still have first semester is full online and the second semester is blended, and then was blended, and then now this semester we kick off full offline learning in the university. I actually a very avid technology learner, especially in terms of language learning, and this is an honor to have you, Pak Made, to be with us to share, because I personally I would like to learn a lot about technologies in class. What happened in my class assessment, especially, we have used we used quizzes and Google Forms. I limit to those platforms. By the end of the semester, we try to have a kind of simple evaluation in form of evaluation sheet. Most of the student, of course, I believe it happens in the audience classes as well. Yeah, students, of course, love quizzes. It's very competitive. It's fun. Yeah. However, I have a feedback. I had a feedback from my students saying that quizzes didn't work for them. Some students, they say that it didn't feel like a test at all. It's quite surprising because jadi kalau pakai quiz itu rasanya bukan ujian atau bukan tes gitu. It keeps haunting me, Pak Made, to be honest, because I suppose those who are digital natives will be very will really enjoy the use of technology in class, but some are not. Okay, so we learned that technology contributes significantly, especially during the pandemic, and I myself also find that technology helps me a lot during to get through the pandemics, especially in class setting. But let's see, what about now? We are transitioning, right? So we are moving from the full online to the blended or even the full offline. So today, Pak Made will discuss with all of us about the technology used for language assessment. Allow me to introduce briefly Pak Made, because I believe all of you are very familiar with Pak Made, I believe. Pak Made Hery Santosa, Ph.D., earns his Doctor of Philosophy in Faculty of Education, Lathrop University, Australia. Currently teaches in English Language Education Study Program and leads the Virtual Lab and Digital Learning. Oh, this is interesting. In the Languages and Arts Faculty, Universitas Pendidikan Ganesha, Singaraja, Bali. Am I right, Pak Made?
Yes, Ibu Erni.
Yes. And Pak Made has a very impressive list of publications. I really admire this list. Technology in Action, Developing Gamification Handbook in English Teaching and Learning for the 21st Century Learners, in TESLAJ, and then Student-to-Student Cooperation in Virtual Learning Without Breakout Rooms in Beyond Words Journal, Pedagogi Digital, dan Adaptasi Pembelajaran di Konteks Pembelajaran Daring, published in Praktik Baik Pembelajaran Daring Adaptif Calon Guru Bahasa Inggris, and many others. Pak Made is also an article editor for Sage Open and reviewer for TESOL Journal, Teaching English as a Second Language, TESLAJ, Springer Nature, Social Sciences, Frontiers Psychology, and also other journals. This is impressive. And then he also, his research interest covers EFL, Computer Assisted Language Learning, CALL, e-learning, digital literacy, and innovative pedagogies. Pak Made can be reached in mhsantosa@undiksa.ac.id. Ladies and gentlemen, Pak Made will present in about 45 minutes. More will be welcome, Pak Made. And Q&A session will follow. Yeah, we will have about 20 to 30 minutes for question and answer session. Announced by the beginning of the session, if you have question for Pak Made, chat box is always available. Please write your name, affiliation, and your questions. If you want to ask directly, I will alternate in between after the presentation, between the question in the chat box and also those who raise their hands. Okay. Don't forget we have door prize by the end of the session. So let's discuss. So, Pak Made, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Ibu Erni. I think we have met several times, a couple of times before this, and I just recently shared in your university, like a couple of weeks ago. Good to see you here, and a very good morning to Ibu and Bapak, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Om Swastiastu. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Semoga kita sehat semua. Ibu and Bapak, Ibu Lulu, and all the participants in the Indonesian ESP teachers community, this is an honor for me to be invited actually to share with you and learn together with you. So my point will be learning together, not kind of lecturing and also taking the dominance from my part, right? As what I told Ibu Uke earlier. And Ibu Uke knows me quite well regarding the time. And then I actually told her that I might not be able to join because of, so many things to do. But then I always try to look at this side, Ibu and Bapak. Sometimes I can meet new people, I can meet new ideas, and also, you can share a lot of good things in the forum. That's why I think that I can manage, to meet you like 1 or 2 hours in this lovely weekend, isn't it? Right, so Ibu Erni, thank you very much for sharing. I know I have shared a lot of hellos just now to some of my familiar faces or friends here, like Mas Teguh, and then Ibu Erni, Ibu Lulu, Ibu Dwi Gloria, I think Mbak Savitri is here. Many people that probably I have met earlier. Or joined my sessions in other events. You might already see some of my sharing or ideas here, but then the point today will be on assessment. Let me share the ideas that I already thought for this session, Ibu and Bapak. So the topic requested is on technology used for language assessment, and I will put this into a specific context called post-pandemic pedagogy. I am interested actually with what Ibu Erni said just now, and I believe it happened to many of us. I remember on March 2020, people started to get panic, right, because of the pandemic, and then so many invitations for me and my friends, especially in the technology area. That time I got like sharing like hundreds all over Indonesia and outside Indonesia, because people got panic of how to teach in the pandemic situation. So the focus was more into the teaching side. But then when after March, around June, July, September, up to December, people's focus was shifted more into the assessment. So at the end of the year, that time on 2020, I've got so many invitations also on how to assess. So at the beginning is how to teach, and then at the end of the year, it is how to assess. And looking at that, I'm going to put the most basic principles of assessment and then put them into a newer context, which is happening today, called post-pandemic, right? So you have to change your focus today from pandemic pedagogy to post-pandemic pedagogy. My name is Hery Santosa. Ibu Bapak, people call me Made or Made or Maid sometimes, yeah, because it is past tense, yeah. And then some people call me Hery and then Santosa. The last part will be very interesting because yesterday I submitted a paper with my friend, and then even my friend did not remember my last name. And she put my name into Susanto, yeah, or Santoso or something like that, because it's very Japanese. I am from Universitas Pendidikan Ganesha or Undiksha. It's ex-IKIP Negeri Singaraja. And that is my name, Ibu Bapak, and my email. If you want to contact me or to share ideas or collaborate later on with writing and publications, I'm very open to that one. So for those who are attending my session, you know that I like to start from this, Ibu Bapak. So I know that here, especially in the pandemic time, you can access a lot of information. You can professionally develop yourself from a lot of sessions, especially from webinars. And then there are times that you probably got everything. Yeah, you think that you are full already. So for this morning, I want you to empty your cup so it can be filled, so we can learn together. If it is full, whatever I say will be, thrown out, yeah, because you think that you know everything. The second one will be, I like to start with this one, when you want to be a growth mindset person. So think like a parachute, because your mind will be open if your mind will be working if it's open. So just like a parachute. And the last part will be, I like to learn lifelong, so it's a never-ending learning. So Ibu and Bapak, let's do a lifelong learning, no matter whatever situation you are now. Right. So having this session, I'm interested to start with some pointers, Ibu Bapak. So I would like to share with you about post-pandemic pedagogy. What is post-pandemic pedagogy? Is it only about teaching after the pandemic or something else? And then because the topic is on assessment, I'm going to focus more on the concept of assessment. Do you really understand the concept of assessment? Is it testing, like Mbak Ernie said just now? Is it, giving quizzes and then students have fun or not have fun like today? Yeah, is it really assessment? So what is your purpose of doing that? All right, and then regarding with the 21st century learning, and then also P5 or Project Penguatan Profil Pelajar Pancasila and then Kurikulum Merdeka, I'm going to shift your understanding a bit on the concept of authentic assessment. Okay, and then after that, as a part of assessment, you must understand also the concept of feedback. And after that, I'm going to touch how technology can mediate or support assessment. And then at last part, I'm going to give you a simple example of how to integrate a technology into assessment context, in post-pandemic pedagogy. And last, if there is time, we will try to summarize everything. All right, so let us start. Now, post-pandemic pedagogy. Can I ask you, Ibu and Bapak, what do you experience today? Is it the same like the pandemic learning or something different happening to your situation or your class? Can I have some? Like my Ernie already started sharing, in the past I gave quizzes and then everybody loved it, but now my students like, oh, this is not fun anymore. I got bored, for example, or this is not a test for me. Yeah, they want a test. Yeah. So what happened to your class other than that, Ibu and Bapak? Anyone? I like to start this joke, yeah. Sometimes you ask your students, right? And then no students responded to you, right? Especially in Zoom, and then you got like mad. Oh, bagaimana ini murid atau mahasiswa kan harus rajin. Now look at yourself, okay? Reflect to yourself when I ask the same question. That will be you. So there is a quote from Steve Jobs, Ibu and Bapak. So you are seen because of your example, not because of your opinions. Okay, so you have to lead by example. If you want your students to be active, then you have to show that model. That's my point, Master.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe I will begin with sharing. Last semester in my campus, it was a blended one. I mean, like half semester was online, but after the midterm test, we got offline, but only partially. And then the interesting thing is, initially I planned to make kind of exhibition, but online exhibition with Padlets, because I make a project. So I asked them to make a poster, something like that. And then after the midterm test, we still have half of the student with with online and half of the students are offline. Then I combine with the hybrid exhibition. Some of them online, some of them offline. But apparently, many students of mine came to Jogja because of they want to experience the offline exhibition. Even though I still open for the online, but very few of them came to Jogja. So interestingly, they were very bored, I guess, only sitting in front of computer, Zoom. So they decided to be offline for the exhibition.
Right, and that happened, and that's very interesting too to my students even, yeah. So I believe people are more aware now of the pandemic itself. So people understood now that it is not as deadly as before. That's, I think, the new awareness, even though we have to be careful still, right? Then the pandemic is, slowly shifted into endemic. So there is an awareness of that one. And then, yes, it's been more than 2 years, Pak Teguh. Even you got bored with that one, right? I just started my offline teaching this last week, and it's good. It feels good as a human, as a teacher. You got the atmosphere again of facing people directly. I saw from the chat about Luis Loria, for example, haven't done that one, maybe because of many things. Yeah, we don't know. But even though the policy states that it is going to be full offline, I believe that it's going to be hybrid, because people got experience already with technology. People know the benefits of LMS and e-learning and so on and so on. Right? So people start to use technology more. But then the question is that, is the use of technology in whatever context it is, whether it is the teaching and learning process or the assessment only, is relevant and effective? So that's the question, right? So thank you for sharing, Mas Teguh. And then I believe Ibu and Bapak, other Ibu and Bapak will has the same thing. Yeah. So this is, I like to say, yeah. So you probably have seen this one before, but then you know the difference, right? From the chat also, a lot of things is different. Like Ibu Yuyun, something is different. Lots of gaps. I don't know what gaps that you mean here. Probably digital literacy, probably character or attitudes, because they are used into the cubicle, yeah, or compartment, small rooms, and then now they have to face people and interact, and they got insecure. So a lot of gaps, and it is very true. So you might experience that when you are so, in the quotation, powerful in the offline class before the pandemic, and then nobody answered to you in the Zoom meeting or Google meeting, or from the right side, you are the only one who is showing the camera, while the others are, turning off the camera. Like today, for example. Again, a lot of things happen, and then no matter the situation is, the teacher's face is the same. Yeah, like this. Whether it is offline or full online or now hybrid. So being a teacher, again, going back to that one, being a teacher is not easy in the end, right? So you have to adapt and transition yourself to any context. Now, from what I saw, yeah, this is not from the context yet, from the concept yet. So what I saw is that there are a lot of project-based implementations in post-pandemic situation, with cooperative learning plus technology being employed, and then a lot of flexibilities that I found, facilities as supports, and teachers who are skillful and competent in integrating technologies, yeah, including assessment. But then there are also some challenges today, yeah, that not all of the teachers and students are ready to use technology. Not all of them are competent. For example, they are using WhatsApp to ask them to submit for assignments, but then WhatsApp is not very suitable to do that, because it is a messaging app, not a learning management system. So it cannot manage your class, yeah, well. So other than that will be socio-cultural background, school facilities, and digital literacy is a part of that one. So again, there are a lot of things happening. I have said this last 2 weeks ago in UII, in Mbak Ernest campus. Yeah, what is happening today in post-pandemic pedagogy actually? So looking from this website, I found there are integrations of a lot of elements here. Yeah, if you can see, post-pandemic pedagogy deals with a lot of things. Some of them deals with how you integrate technology suitably. Yeah, using what framework? In this case, the author proposed one of the famous frameworks called TPACK. But the question is that, is TPACK the only framework that you can use? Can you use other technology integration framework? For example, like technology integration model, for example, TRM from Davis, yeah, or you take a UT put-out model, version 1, version 2 from Venkantes, yeah, or pick-red model, yeah, and other models. There are a lot of technology integration frameworks or models that you can think of, but to start, you can see from TPAC, for example. And learning modes is also very important here. You have to know when you are going to do it synchronously or asynchronously. Do you think that your bandwidth is good, for example, and the material should be taught that day? Okay, so if it is not that urgent, you can make it asynchronous, right? You can ask the students to discuss for a week in the LMS, and then you can meet them on the schedule and talk about the discussion. Yeah, and then there is also an implementation of a concept called flip learning, which is already, yeah. And then flexibility is something new. You can learn everywhere, anywhere. For young learners, especially, strong parental engagement are very important. And then you have to think your context later on. And then hybrid approaches, meaning that you have to look for your students. You have to be attentive to your students. In the past, probably you are not really that attentive to your students, right? You just teach in the classroom and then you go home. But then now, some students are consistently absent, for example, and then you have to chat and then to contact him or her, what happened, and so on and so on, right? So think about this, Ibu and Bapak, and then I think this is going to be very important today. And then I already shared in some sessions also about this. So when talking about post-pandemic pedagogy, you have to have and acquire digital pedagogy skills yourself. Yeah, whatever you call it, either it is skills, literacy, or competence. The idea is that you have to use the technology effectively. You might know technologies, but if it is not suitable, relevant, and fitting into the needs, yeah, of the class, then the technology will not give effective instruction. Okay, and I believe one of the strongest foundation of learning theories and technology today in the 21st century learning is constructivism. Can you use other learning theories, for example, connectivism or collaborative online learning, and so on and so on? Yes, you can, but this can be a start, yeah, where you need your students to be more autonomous to construct their own understanding. I'm sure that you got this point also from my other sessions earlier. So you have to know when and where you as the teachers now. In the assessment, for example, from what Ernie said just now, are you doing the dominant part here, or are you putting yourself into the facilitating and co-learning role here? Yeah, because you are teaching adults in andragogy point of view, or are you going into making them learning or engage a lot with technology like in cybergogy, or are you going to make them learning together collaboratively or cooperatively with your friends, with their friends, or are you going to make them having self-determination, yeah, when learning? So this is higher than self-direction or self-directed learning. So heutagogy is more into students when they understand what to do, when to know, when to control their own learning. Yeah, quite similar to self-regulated learning or autonomous learning, but it's more on determination. All right. So in talking about post-pandemic pedagogy, I'm sure that you already understood this point too, that you can use technologies, but technology alone is not adequate. So the point is more into the pedagogy, the learning, not the technology. Okay. When you use technology, you have to reflect. Yeah, you have to design it well. If you are familiar into a course called Instructional Design and Technology, for example, you understand that there are two parts there, instructional design and technology, meaning that you have to design it first with the support of technology, not to think which technology that can help my design. Yeah, that's the other way around. And then you have to have a framework, a clear framework. Why? Because you have to have a clear step-by-step procedure. Okay, other than that, then your learning can be going everywhere. And of course, you have to see whether your context will be supportive in terms of many things. For example, learning culture, readiness, policies, and so on, like technicalities and also facilities in terms of infrastructure. So again, when you want to integrate technology in whatever context, like in the assessment, for example, in post-pandemic pedagogy, you have to think that the design of your assessment will be very important rather than the technology being used to help your assessment. Okay, this is similar to teaching too. Right, so I'm going to introduce one of technology integration frameworks. You can share later on with me if you already learned about this in my other sessions or in your own readings. So you probably have heard technology and pedagogical content knowledge, or TPEC, from Punya, Mishra, and Kohler, with the original version or the updated version back in 2019. You probably have heard about UTAUT model. You have probably heard or learned about HIT model, for example, for teaching critical thinking using technologies. There is a model called HIT too, or PIC model, or PIC RAIT model, PIC-RAT model. You can also learn about summer model, for example, from Puntandura. And then I'm going to introduce EEE model. So basically, this framework is one of the frameworks that you can think of and use when you want to integrate technology, and especially in assessment context later on. So you have to think of whether the technology that you are using help the students to engage in their learning, to enhance their understanding, and also to extend the use of technologies in authentic context in everyday life. Yeah, in the assessment context, this is the same. This is the same. Whether the assessment technology that you are using help the students to be engaged in their learning assessment situation. Yeah, for example, you are using quizzes, and what like Ibu Ernie's students are saying, oh, boring, or this is not fun anymore, meaning that the technology, the quizzes platform, is not engaging them anymore. Okay, because of many things, meaning that you have to think of other strategies, other model, or other tools. And then after that, you have to think that it can help them to understand the material, enhancing their understanding. Yeah, and then of course, at last, you have to help the students to use the technological tools automatically in their everyday life. So it is like contextual learning. Okay, Ibu Bapak. So this is basically the concept. You can learn later on more about this in Google, and also Kolb's, or Professor Kolb's book, yeah, on this one. My point on this technological framework will be on how you use the technology for assessment in this case, yeah, to achieve the three elements of engagement, enhancement, and extension of their learning using assessment tools. Okay, now looking at this in EEE, there is a term called the sweet spot, Ibu Bapak. The sweet spot will be E. Yeah. So, for example, you are using quizzes, but then they are just working like, you know, filling in the blank. So you use technology, but there is no integration. This might be the case of Ibu Ernie's situation. Okay. Jadi dia ada di luar sini gitu. You use technology, whatever it is, ya, quizzes, Kahoot, WhatsApp, and so on, Google Form, but there is no integration. They just, you know, use it, or even printing it out. The second case is that they are engaged. Before the tool that you are using, they are very passive, but then you use quizzes, they are very active, right? Engaged. But then stop until there. Yeah, for example, you are using quizzes in the beginning of the lesson to brainstorm or to bridge into the topic. the topic is, for example, about pet or transportation, and then you give a quiz on transportation, right? And then they are very happy. And then after that, you told your student, okay, anak-anak, now we are going to talk about transportation. And then everyone is like that, meaning that you only use technology only into engagement element only. Yeah, there are nothing more. So they are becoming active, but then that's it. Yeah, that's it. The thing is that you can also move into number C or point C, where you can use technology to be integrated in your class or in your assessment, but then it can help the students to understand. Yeah, so basically the same tool can be used for this one, but again, the design will be very important. Yeah, and last, it should extend. So for example, you ask the students to take notes of vocabulary rather than giving them quizzes about answering vocabularies, and then students can be asked to take notes using Padlet or Google Doc, or so they can use it, automatically in their everyday life. That will be extension in the EEE framework. So again, of course, you are going to achieve the sweet spot, right? But it doesn't mean that you have to. Yeah, meaning that you need to know what is the goal of your technology integration in which elements of learning, in this case, assessment. Okay, Ibu Bapak, that's a small idea about how to integrate technology. If you are interested more into EEE framework as a part of post-pandemic learning situation for you, you can go to Google EEE, and then you will be directed into the website. Yeah, I use this a lot now. I observe the quality of technology integration using their rubric, and then I can write papers on this one. Right. So this is how to interpret the rubric. Yeah, if the score is from 13 to 18, meaning that the technology being used helping the students to achieve the 3 E's. Okay, up to the red one. So that is basically a simple concept of what you have to do in the current post-pandemic pedagogy. Yeah, regarding with assessment, you have to think that your assessment must deal with the way it should be taught in the current learning context today. Yeah, which is post-pandemic. Yeah, meaning that you have to think of a lot of things there. Now, Ibu and Bapak, if you have any questions, you can do not hesitate, yeah, to raise your hands, or you just put in the chat box, yeah. And let me know if I miss, because I'm sharing at the moment. So before we go into how technology is used in the assessment context, let us dive a bit into the nature of assessment. Yeah. So before I begin, if I ask you, what do you normally do in assessing the students? Ibu and Bapak. Do you, for example, give a multiple choice test? Do you give, for example, a project, or what? Anyone?
I currently working with projects, Pak Made, in my MKU class, yeah. So by the midterm test, because we are still required to have midterm and final test. So I made it projects instead of in class exam test, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ibu Hen. Yeah, so a project, yeah, 1 semester project. Thank you. And then Ibu Uke asking comprehension questions for reading text. So reading task, I mean. So you check your students' comprehension, yeah. Probably using a tool, or probably directly. I don't know whether it is individually or in group, and then with discussion or any strategies. But I'm interested to invite Ibu Angesti Palupi. Yeah, you want to say something, Ibu? Ibu Angesti, you raise your hand just now.
Unmute first. Okay, good.
Hello, Pak Made.
Yes,
let me share my experience in assessing my student in the pandemic or and post-pandemic. era. Usually I use project for I mean a real assessment. Sometimes I use multiple choice or maybe fill in the blank, but those only to invite the student to lead to the topic. So it's like if it is a teaching, it's like ice breaking. So sometimes I use light assessment to invite the student to lead to the topic. Okay, that's
right. So you are actually combining several strategies and also tools, or means to do that. For example, from multiple choice to essay type or project based, in the context today, right? Which is nice. It is nice to know. Yeah, interesting. Okay, thank you, Ibu Angesti. That's very interesting way of assessing your students. Now, question is that, is it really assessing? Your students' understanding, with whatever ways or strategies that you are using, with whichever tools that you are using. I'm going to go to the chat room, from Pak Agung Budi. I don't know if it is still in line. How to minimize lost input of verbal training and assessment? I'm not sure I understand this one, Pak Agung. Would you like to clarify this one? Are you talking about different inputs that might affect students' quality of English, for example, English competency? Is it like that? Because if you are, probably you need to read about first Castru's model. Are you familiar with Castru's circle? There is inner circle, outer circle, and then extended circle. Okay. Read about it, read about it, but then also read about a term called world Englishes and global Englishes. So to understand that, is there any standard English in this world now, or any English is standard? Pointnya. So I think if you're talking about inputs, then any inputs will do, as long as it helps the students to to improve themselves, to be better. But then if you're talking about the quality being produced from different inputs, especially in the English standards quality, then I suggest you to read those terms, Castru's circle of English, and then world Englishes, and then global Englishes. Okay, thank you very much. So let us go back to the nature of assessment, because of the time I cannot talk a lot, Ibu Erni, on different things. I already shared about this before. So basically, what I'm going to show you is that look at the way a teacher asks the students to do something to be a part of the assessment. Okay, so there is a teacher that I came into my student supervision in PLP or PPL, and the open practice teaching, and then the teacher sent this one day in WhatsApp group. Look at the quality of the screen capture, and then look at also the instruction. I'm sure that if I ask you this question, you will say that the instruction is not clear, right? So if you are a student, I don't know what to do. We don't know what to do with this one. Selamat pagi, hari ini saya mau ngambil urangan. Kalau sudah selesai, silakan foto terus kirim gitu misalnya. This is Balinese word for J. So that's why the student replied like this. Look at the time first. This is 9 a.m. in the morning, and then 1 p.m. The 1 p.m. the students ask, why are no response? Look at the grammar too. So the students ask like this, kirim di mana dan seterusnya, meaning that the instruction is not clear, right? In terms of assessment, this is not a good assessment, right? And then so on and so on. You can read this one. I will share my slides later on, because I'm sure that you have seen this one in my other sessions too. But my point will be, assessment deals with a lot of criteria. One of them is clarity. Okay, so you can see here from the WhatsApp chatting, yeah, a lot of things happening. Yeah, the instruction is not clear. The way the students responded, you know, the language. Ya, misalnya ini cek chat pribadi miss. Can you imagine your students talk to you like that? Yeah, things like that. So sabar mem lagi sedikit exercise. So the teacher also directly asked 7 p.m. yang belum number this. So a lot of things happening here in our education, to be honest, right? And then now, some of you already shared what they are doing, yeah, so far. So now, which one is actually that you are doing? Are you doing a test, a measurement, evaluation, or assessment? If you are taking or teaching assessment, I'm sure you know about these concepts. So if you are doing a test, then your test must involve ways, yeah, and the tool, yeah, to know the student's quality. If you are doing measurement, your point will be to measure the test results. So there is a test, and then you measure them, yeah, normally in the form of scores or numbers. And then you've got the data, you interpret them, you interpret the scores. That will be an evaluation. But then if you are going to collect everything and to monitor the progress, that would be an assessment. Okay, so today teachers are encouraged to perform assessment more rather than a test, because assessment is more comprehensive. If you are looking at this diagram, for example, you know that test is a smaller part, and then measurement can include or involve a test, and then evaluation can be a part of measurement and the test, and then everything together is called assessment. Okay, so that is the concept. So this is a simple example of this one. So for example, you are using thermometer, right? That will be the tool or the test. And then the measurement says it is 48 Celsius degree. This is the number, right? This is measurement. Now you need to interpret 48 Celsius degree for human, it is hot, or for water, for example, it is hot. And the assessment will be above average. In the class situation, the test will be the questions, the measurement or the score will be 35, and you know that students got 35 mean it is below average and poor performance. Okay, Bu Bapak, I hope that this will refresh your understanding and again remind you these different concepts regarding with assessment. Now, when you want to have a good assessment, Ibu Bapak, you have to go back to the requirements of good assessment. Okay, the first two, which you probably are familiar, are reliability and validity. When the test or the instrument is reliable, meaning that it is consistent. Okay, you use this test in Jogja, for example, the result will be consistent to Bali. That is reliable. Okay, and then validity means that it's supposed to measure what it is supposed to measure. Measure what it is supposed to measure. For example, you are teaching speaking, and then your test must ask the students to perform orally, not to write. Yeah, that is validity. There are different parts of validity, whether you want to do a face validity, content validity, or construct validity. Other than this, there are several other criteria of good assessment or instruments. Yeah, practicality, meaning that it is practical. Tidak pakai sound yang besar gitu sekarang, so it is very difficult to be conducted. Usability means that it can be used, yeah, easily and fairly. Yeah, economical means that it doesn't cost you a lot, and then there is a wash back effect. Yeah, if you are familiar with wash back, whether it is positive or negative. Dampak ya Ibu Bapak ya. So after you conduct the test several times, is the wash back positive or negative after several times? Okay, so that is only just to refresh your understanding on that one. And then I'm sure you're already familiar with this one. If you now want to do assessment, you have also to know which type of assessment that you are going to use. Are you going to assess the students periodically, or after one semester, or throughout the semester? Okay, so there are terms for assessment for learning or formative assessment. There is a term also called assessment of learning or summative assessment, and the assessment as learning or reflective assessment. Oke, Ibu Bapak, saya harap bisa dipahami ini ya. Jadi formative assessment for learning, it is like weekly quizzes. So you want to check the students' understanding periodically. Small, bite-sized, yeah, small chunk, bite-sized quizzes or assessment. Assessment of learning will be like your final project, yeah, at the end of the semester. You want to know students' overall understanding. Assessment as learning will be throughout the semester, for example. You keep tracking the progress of the students. All right. So, for example, this is also something that I like to share. If you're going to a restaurant with your friends, or your family, yeah, your beloved one, for example, you order food, right? And then when the cook it in the kitchen, and then do you know that the chef sometimes tastes your food first before it is served? So when the cook tastes the soup, for example, to make sure that it is nice, yeah, that is assessment for learning. And then when it is served to you outside on the table in the restaurant, then you said, oh, this is a nice soup. That is assessment of learning. Now, what about assessment as learning? So, for example, is it nice for you? Do you want to go back again to the restaurant? Or if it is not nice, what you learned? Oh, ini kurang garam misalnya, dan seterusnya. And then you can suggest in the suggestion note, for example. So this simple illustration gives you idea on which assessment type that you want to do. And it doesn't mean that you have to do a particular type, but you have to know which activity requires which assessment type. Okay, so for example, this is a simple one. Sometimes I like to give a short, small quizzes like this in my class or in Zoom. And then it's only 1 minute. Okay, so you can ask the students, okay, students, let's have a small game or quiz, and then find anything in your surroundings to make you look like an Indonesian national hero. And then students will be, trying to get everything in their house or in the room, and then, wearing peci, for example, or having penggaris, yeah, ruler as their sword, and so on and so on. So that can be fun, yeah. And you can check whether they understand the vocabulary, for example, or the instruction, or blah, blah, blah. Okay. Another thing is that you can try a guessing game like this. Yeah. So yesterday I went to a mini mart. I bought my Bali meats. One item is so good. Can you guess it? And then I give the hints one by one. It is brown. And then they start guessing, or they are silent. After a couple of minutes, it is sweet. And then no one guessing. And then I keep giving them hints. It is a bar. And then one or two then will reply, it's for example, it's coffee. No, it's not coffee. It's candy. No, it's not candy. So it can make you happy, for example. Or it's chocolate, for example. So things like that. Okay, Ibu and Bapak. So assessment doesn't always mean at the end, yeah, like final project. You can do it along the progress like this. All right. So still okay, Ibu Bapak? Where are you now? Already lying down on the 20 minutes? Yeah. All right. So I gave you two basic concepts, yeah. Post-pandemic pedagogy, where technology is used a lot, but then the use of technology must be in effective integration. And the second part is about assessment concept. Assessment concept, you have to understand what is assessment, and then which type of assessment that you are going to use. All right. Now, one of the common ways to do now is called authentic assessment. So tell me, Ibu and Bapak, if I ask my students to create a project like Mas Teguh mentioned just now, to have, online exhibition and then put it into Padlet, and then you check for their understanding or their responses in Padlet. Is it authentic assessment or not, and why? Anyone? Nah, saya bilang, oh, gimana ini gurunya nyuruhnya siswanya ngomong tapi ibu bapak sendiri tidak ngomong gitu. Ini bercanda ya. So jadi think about that ya. Probably it is authentic assessment, and then we will see why it is authentic. Okay, let me see the chat. Not really, I guess. Okay, yeah, we don't know yet. Okay, so now let us see the concept of authentic assessment. So authentic assessment has a simple purpose, that is to engage students in beneficial, significant, meaningful tasks, and learning. Okay. It is competency based, So if you are using Curriculum Merdeka at the moment, so you have to understand what competency being required to be achieved, and it is rather individual. So you can think whether you are going to ask the students to work in groups, but you are still checking for individual progress, or you are asking them to work in individual project. Jadi kan bisa sebenarnya menyuruh mereka bekerja kelompok, tapi yang dinilai tetap individualnya. So if you attend my session in Ibu Erni's session before, I gave the difference of cooperative learning and collaborative learning. So thank you, Ibu Erni. A taste of the real world. Yes, it is contextual. It is authentic. Okay, and it is focused or directed into students. Student-centered learning. It is contextual and it is integrated, okay, and sustainable. If you are familiar with the characteristics of P5, Ibu Bapak, Project Penguatan Profil Pelajar Pancasila, there are 4 main characteristics also of P5, right? It is holistic, it is explorative, it is student-centered, and it is authentic. So actually, what the policy has been always aligned to what the needs of the 21st century learning, or the needs of today's learning. But then the question is that, is it really applicable? Is it really clear? And so on and so on. Okay, so we are all doing authentic assessment at the moment, or we think that we do authentic assessment. Now, if you want to do authentic assessment, Ibu Bapak, think about these 3 types of authentic assessment. Are you, or does your learning or the course needs the students to collect their own collections of works throughout the semester, or called portfolio, or artifacts? So is it every week that you ask your students to perform something? Then you put that into a folder, or digital folder, and then you check it at the end of the semester. You are checking students' portfolio, individually. Are you going to ask the students to perform something, or are you going to ask them to do a project? Think about this. So these 3 will be a part of authentic assessment. So this is an example, Ibu Bapak. So portfolio assessment is actually checking on the students' progress in every periodical time. So in my class, for example, I design a Padlet, and then I ask the students to put their own progress and responses in different folders, or let's say tab. Another one is like this, when I ask the students to put into Google Drive. So you probably have done this one, but again, is it really compatible and suitable to the post-pandemic learning context today, right? And this is a part of performance assessment. I still do this one when I ask the students to perform, to perform in using script casting, for example.
Hello, good morning. On today's presentation, I'm going to talk about all about online learning.
So you can think about this. And if it is full offline class now, you can ask the students to perform in front of the classroom, or you can still ask them to record and then put in YouTube and then play in the classroom or discuss in the classroom. So again, the idea will be the same. It's only that you have to make it suitable to the current context, which is post-pandemic.
Oh.
Yeah. Another one will be project assessment. Yeah, I like to show this one too. I asked the students to create a project. It's a long project with clear step-by-step timeline. Yeah, for example, every week or every 2 weeks, I ask them to perform or to finish with a particular steps. Okay. For example, in this project, I asked them to create a story. Yeah, to create a story, and then in the end, they can come to this one. Yeah, this is part of my students' project, and then we just published the book this year. Yeah, so that is apart from the project, a long project, and then you can get to know about this book from this website. Yeah, it's in the digital book or playbook. Yeah, right. So I would like to go to other concept more quickly now. So in part of assessment, you also need to perform feedback, Ibu and Bapak. So why feedback? Because students need it. So sometimes you just cannot ask the students to do this and that, and then you didn't give anything. Yeah, they need the feedback because it can give them powerful, reflection to their own learning. So they know what is lacking and what they are good at. Sometimes you ask the students, try to reflect to yourself, Ibu and Bapak. You ask the students to do the task every week, but then you never give them feedback. And that is not really good for them, right? And you cannot say that, oh, I'm very busy and so on. If you don't, you think that you cannot do that, do not ask them to do the task. Or what I am doing is that I keep giving them feedback, but then I select, yeah, because I'm teaching like hundreds of students every semester from S1, S2, S3, and then I cannot, look individually in every week. So what I'm doing is that I select 3 students, yeah, the best one, the so-so one, and then the most lacking one. And then I give it back to them, either orally or using screencasting, and then put in my YouTube channel. And then they can listen to that one. But then at the end, I correct everyone's work. Yeah. So, but then when you give feedback, you have to think about this, Ibu Bapak. There is a model called burger model, yeah, among other models, yeah. So you have to think that giving a feedback is like a burger. So there is a bun, cheese, and then the meat, and then the lettuce, and then another bun. Okay, so the first bun will be relationship building, which is like, greeting the students and mention their names. Mentioning the names is very important, Ibu Bapak, to show that you interact with them positively. You know them, you know your students. Yeah, you can say that thanks for submitting your students on time. That is a very good relationship in the beginning, and then you can give the cheese. I can see you have made good changes in your introduction. The meat will be the bad thing, yeah. But, however, you need to clarify your main idea. And then the letters will be overall, I enjoy, another positive thing. And then the bun will be the support. Keep up the good work, and so on and so on. So everything is positive, Ibu Bapak, in assessment and giving feedback, never negative. I understand that sometimes you are tired, right? And you don't get your certification yet, for example, yeah. And then you cross and then get 0 with red ink, for example. So remember this, yeah. Teachers is a work of passion, and then if you are tired, get rest, and then see the beach or the mountain, for example, or something green, whatever you like, or go out with your family, and then after that you go back again. Okay, so because being a teacher is, building the next 20 years generation from now. Yeah, so it's a call from your heart. Anyway, so those 3 concepts: post-pandemic pedagogy, assessment, and then feedback. Now, after you got the points for these 3 concepts, I'm sure that integrating technology will be easier now. Okay, so I don't want to talk a lot about this because you probably have used technology. Maybe young teachers are born with technologies, yeah, not like me because I am a digital immigrant. But then there is a successful digital immigrant, there is non-successful digital immigrant, right? But when you want to use technological tools, Ibu Bapak, in your assessment, think about this. who you are dealing. Are you dealing mostly here or alpha generation now? Or probably you are teaching in ESP context. Kalau ESP, you might be teaching people in a learning in a company, for example, or training. Kan itu ESP. Maybe your students are baby boomers or at least generation X or Y. So this will, determine the use of technology that you are going to use. All right. So I'm sure that you know a lot of this and maybe more than this, but the thing is that you cannot use everything for everything. Yeah, one size doesn't fit all. You cannot use, for example, let's say Padlet for everything. You cannot see quizzes for everything. Again, going back to Ibu Ernest's sample just now. Maybe it doesn't fit. It is not relevant to your students anymore. Kan gitu ya? Apakah mereka bosan atau gimana? Ya, right. So you probably use also this. I don't know. Like Google Forms, I'm sure you are familiar with that one. I'm not sure whether you are using VoiceThread, for example. This is a very old platform, but now it's getting popular again, where you can give comment to slides online. Yeah, this is getting popular again. Or you are using Kogel, for example, a free mind mapping platform. MindMeister is similar, but it is premium or very limited. Yeah. Or other things. Okay, so I like to show you this one. Remember that I told you that I gave feedback to selected students. So I asked them to create a story project, and then every now and then, periodically, I give them feedback using screencasting. Okay, this is an example.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So I'm going to continue my feedback on the story draft. The second one is about Big Bear and Weasel Friends.
So by giving them this, I give or I set examples, yeah, the best progress that moment, the so-so one, and then the lacking one. So they have the ideas and reflect to their own work if it is not selected. Oh, I should be like this, like that, and so on. Why I select? Because it is a part of the process. You don't have to assess everyone at this stage, okay? And it is okay. And then you can use a lot of things. Yeah. I'm not sure whether it is now video casting or screencasting. In the past, it's called screencasting, and then people start to have another term called video casting at the moment because you are showing your video and your face. Yeah, you can use a lot of tools like this or new tools. I don't know. And this is another screencasting that I do for my students project, developing Android application. Yeah, very similar. I use Mobizen at this time.
Chanji, Pak coba lihat ya aplikasinya. Bagus, ini mulai startnya langsung landscape. Dia sedikitlah layout di samping kanan kirinya masih ada sisa, tapi saya pikir mungkin di HP-HP yang berbeda akan berbeda juga. Tapi di HP Pak masih ada sedikit abu-abu begitu, tapi it's okay. Nah, Pak coba klik start. Bunyi dengan suara dan button, kemudian ada menu.
Okay, that is only example, Ibu Bapak. So when you give feedback, remember burger model, but then be detailed. Yeah, be detailed. So I call the name, and then I gave encouragement in the beginning, and then I give my feedback there.
Chanji.
And then this is another one. You can use Padlet also to give feedback, and then regarding with tools, Ibu Bapak, you can use a lot. But then remember, what is the purpose, and then what is the contribution or the type of feedback that you want to give to your students. That's important, Ibu Bapak. Are you looking at automatic feedback, for example, or assessment? Yeah. So you can use something automatic then. For example, Google Form. You know that when students respond to this, and then the result will be available directly, right? These things will be automatic feedback type. Are you going to focus on giving detailed information in the form of annotation? Yeah, you can use track changes, for example, in Microsoft Word or Google Docs. Are you going to give audio-based type of feedback and then assess them using that one? You can use Vocaroo, you can use Mote, you can use Talk and Comment as add-ons. And then the last, are you going to give feedback where your face are there? You can use Zoom at the moment, or Screencastify, Loom, and so on and so on. Okay, think about this, Ibu Bapak, because now we are just sharing, so I'm not going to, go deeply into the use of the technological tools at the moment. But when you conduct assessment, you have to understand what is the needs of your student assessment that time, and then which technological tools are appropriate for that one. Now, I give you a simple example. This is a very quick example, actually, but more into an integrated example of how to perform teaching and learning together with assessment. Yeah. So how you assess in post-pandemic pedagogy. So I don't know, is it a possible process for you or not? I don't know. Let's see. So I probably can ask the students to go to this link. Yeah, this is a story. Yeah, available in Let's Read .org. A story called Dream Defenders. And then by having that, I might also ask the students to check their ability to read by visiting a speed reading platform called readingsoft.com. There, our students can practice their reading and then know the speed of their reading. Yeah, speed reading is very important because it deals with how much they can handle vocabularies, information, and then a story in this case, or a text. And then after they check their speed reading, I can ask them to read the story to the website. You can later click this one, because of the time by Ernie, I'm going to just give you the overview, yeah. And then after you ask the students to read, yeah, whether it is in 1 week, whether it is in that time, you can proceed to a virtual discussion. You can use WhatsApp if it is available for you. You can use Zoom if it is okay for the bandwidth, or you can put a Padlet and then you can ask the students to go to the Padlet and then discuss what they have read there. Okay. And then for young learners, it is strongly encouraged to involve the parents. For example, ask the parent to read the bedtime stories and then accompany their kids to discuss about the plots, the characters, or even put them into a journal later on, reading journal. Yeah. And then after that, you can ask them to perform something as a part of formative assessment, a small quiz, yeah, along the way. For example, okay, write what you have read, yeah, in a reading log. Or you can set up a questions in Google Form and then ask them to respond to that one, and then you get automatic results. Or you can start asking them to have story ideas of their own and then give some short description in Mentimeter or any relevant platforms. If you are going to ask them to create a story project, then this will be important or relevant. After the formative assessment one, or before that, this is an example of a reading log that I use normally for my own community. I travel all around Bali for a long time ago, yeah, almost 8 years now, and then I teach them a lot, especially in literacy. And this is a part of the reading journal that I gave to the students there. Okay, and then after that, you can ask them to do a small group discussion to create another similar story or to retell, depending on the learning objectives. You can have a class group, dividing the students into different groups in the class, or if it is Zoom, you can use the breakout group. You can ask the students to brainstorm ideas using Padlet, Slido, or word cloud. Yeah, for example, producing like this. Yeah, what is the theme of your story? And then if they got the theme, you can ask them to go to an artificial intelligence-based story generator, for example. There are a lot. This is one of the easiest way. Yeah, so they can have a simple plot of their own story. Of course, because it is machine, you should guide them and then ask them to revise. Yeah, it is suggested that way. And then you can ask them to share their progress in Instagram, for example, using Reels, or at Basel, or YouTube, or even an offline one using PowerPoint. Okay, and then they can screencast, share them in YouTube, or they can present, or they put in YouTube and then share in the classroom. Okay, and then after that, you can ask them to make the story using different platforms. There are already available platforms like Storyweaver, Storyjumper, or Storybird, and many others. Yeah, you can practice this one. I already put the link here, or just Google them. Yeah, I actually intend to show this one, Ibu Erni, but then I think the time is really not much at the moment. So think about that. And then after a couple of meetings of developing the story, you can again have a formative assessment with the progress reflection. Remember that the assessment should not always the final project be the final project. You can always check for the progress. All right. You can ask them to put all the progress into the Padlet, yeah, every progress every week, and then you check that their progress as a part of formative assessment, and then you can revise, yeah, ask them to revise, and then at last, as a part of assessment of learning or summative, then you can ask them to submit the final draft of the story in Google Drive or link. So you can see here there are a lot of technological tools being involved, yeah, with a clear pedagogical procedures. So remember that it is not the technology, but then how you use the technology for teaching and assessing your students' work, right? So the last one, you have to remember to give them a way to assess them. For example, in this case, because it is a project for creating story, I can give them a learning media rubric. Yeah, for example, including attitude. I think attitude is important in our curriculum context. Okay, so last points, yeah, to think of if you want to do assessment using technology. Think about these points, Ibu Bapak. Think about the learning objectives. This is the compass for you. I always tell you this one. So if you want to teach, go for the learning objective. If you are lost, go for your learning objectives. This is like research. Yeah, if you are lost, go to your research questions. All right. So because of the learning objective, you need to prepare what to do, what to prepare, what to give. All right, what to assess later on. And then think about the levels, the size of the classroom, the facilities that you have. Jangan pakai yang canggih and complex where your facilities does not support. Yeah, and it should be personalized. It should give them, meaning, yeah, to their own learning journey. Yeah, what the needs also, and then the time, and then the kind of tasks. Is it really quizzes? Is it really a big project, or is it asking them to do a simple task? Yeah, using a tool, for example. All right, so those are the points that you have to think. If you want to know more, there is a new book on assessment and feedback in post-pandemic era that I think it's good for you to read. Yeah, and you can go to this. You just need to put your name and then your institution there. Yeah, right. So please read this also, Ibu Bapak. And then last but not least, I want you to go to this link. Ibu Erni or Mas Herida or Mas Teguh, can you help me with typing this into the chat with HTTPS, yeah, together to be clickable. S.id expert sharing 3. I give you a small survey there, probably 5 more minutes, Ibu Erni, if you don't mind. I want you to fill in the simple questions there, and then after that we will go back to this one to have question and answer. Ibu and Bapak, thank you very much for that one. Yeah, so I want you to fill in this one first, and then if you want to download the material, it is available here. And I give the material also to Ibu later on after this. Yeah, if you want to contact me, this is my email or my WhatsApp number is in Ibu. Just contact me. Okay. So thank you very much, Ibu and Bapak. I hope that I helped, because this is basically just sharing. So if you have anything that I haven't covered, please share with us too. I written this to Ibu Anne. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Made, for the fruitful information and discussion later on. I hope perhaps we give Pak Made a virtual round applause, everyone. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. While waiting for our audience to give the feedback on this link, shall we answer one question from the chat box, Pak?
Sure,
Made?
sure. Yeah.
One that is from, okay, let's see. Ibu Bonifacia Ekta from STISBI. Pak Made, when we give feedback to the students, is it possible for us to compare their works one another?
Right. Thank you very much. Very good question, Ibu Bonifacia Ekta. Comparing students can be done, but you have to, again, look for the purpose. Is it really necessary at that point? Meaning that you have also to understand the culture of our students, yeah, our learning culture, especially in the Asian context. When you compare, focus on the positive sides and then improve them. Yeah, remember again the burger model. You can compare your students to another or other projects to your students' work. Okay, and focus on the positive sides by following the burger model. That's my point.
Okay, thank you, Pak Made. Bu Eka would like to say something for the answer that Pak Made has mentioned. Ibu Ekta? Or shall we continue first to, I think it's Mbak Lulu, a kind of sharing. Yeah, I think the most challenging thing, but also very important, is how to conduct assessment as learning rather than assessment for and of learning. We are usually busy collecting student scores, score of tests for the sake of administrative reason, because grades must be issued at the end of the course. Well, we're the same page, yeah, Mbak Lulu. Within a tight teaching timetable. Therefore, we have little space or time to make students reflect on what they've achieved so far and which parts or competence or skill they need to improve, rather than merely focusing on the final grade. Excellent.
Yeah.
Pak Made?
I do agree to that. I think this is just sharing basically, yeah. And then it is true, we are on the same page. At the end of the day, you need to put scores, right? But then I always do assessment as learning, Pak Lulu. Yeah, I rarely gave my students a test, multiple choice test, or essay questions. I think I never do that anymore. Yeah, for the past 7 years. I set up the LMS from meeting 1 to meeting 16, and then everything is clear there. So I normally prepare everything first before the meeting, including something technical. For example, attendance, Zoom link if it is using Zoom, even my own introductory video. I introduce myself, in a very relaxed way, fun way, yeah, hopefully. I tell about my hobby and so on. So not about the course. And then I set up a special virtual cafe in my LMS for them to talk about Korean K-pop, for example, or music or football, whatever. They can practice their English, and then, if you are using LMS, your students will go to your LMS only to get materials and then to submit assignments and then leave the class, right? In fact, LMS is your class too, like WhatsApp. It is your class too. It is not, something else. So you have to create that atmosphere. And along the topics, I always check my students' progress. What I do is, every end of the topic, I have a reflection journal page. Yeah, so every end of the topic, I ask them to write 50 to 150 reflection journal about what they learned personally. Yeah, I normally use the same model like the one that you fill in now, 3 to 1 reflective model. Yeah, what are the 3 things that you learn? What are the 2 things that you plan to do? after this, and then what is the one thing that you still want to improve? Yeah. So something like that. So it is clear, and it is really checking on their own, not to reflect on the teachers. Yeah, it is to reflect on their own. So with that, I think then you know the quality of the students. Yes, of course, you have to put scores in your students' final project, but then because you know the progress, then you know the quality, right? That's my 2 cents on that one too. I do agree, Lulu. Yeah.
Okay. I think Bu Heni Mardiah is here and ready to with her camera and also audio. Would you mind to ask directly to Pak Made, Bu Heni Mardiah from Universitas Muhammadiyah Sumatera Utara? Please, Bu Heni.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Ernie. Yes, good day, everybody here, and Pak Made. I'm really glad to speak to you in front of you directly because I joined with most of your webinars because I thought that mostly your webinars is very enlightening, and then also insightful, and the most important thing, it's very up to date, sir. So that is why I'm really interested in joining most of your webinars. Okay, my question is, as I wrote there on the chat box there, I also my home base is in English Education Department, Universitas Muhammadiyah Sumatera Utara, but I also teach at the Faculty of Engineering, and dealing with the engineering students, as you know, the level of the English abilities, most of them, even they don't know how to read like white, and then sometimes they read with something like that. So I have to be creative to teach them, to engage them with my learning activity. And sometimes I upload my material with YouTube on our LMS, so that they can be more interesting to get the visual aids there from the YouTube there. It works, I guess, because there are so many colorful like videos on YouTube, and then I just share the link to them, then they can watch it. Like the topic is tools, learn about tools, learn about materials, something like that. But then I think I want to improve my teaching skills to use digital platforms for the engineering students. So could you suggest to me, sir, what kinds of relevant digital platforms that I can use to engage to my students, to make them more active in my classroom, to my engineering students? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ibu Heni. It's very nice to meet you here again. Yeah, I remember that you joined some. Yeah, but pardon me if I cannot remember everyone, yeah, because of so many people at the moment. I'm getting old probably, yeah, because I cannot remember names, especially now. So your question is actually dealing with pedagogy, not with technology. So you are questioning actually of how to teach in this context today, which is engineering, which is post-pandemic, and so on and so on, in an active and meaningful way. Okay, so this is very much the SP context. So first, what I can suggest to you is that you have to understand the profile of your students, yeah, the needs, the inputs, the ability, and so on. So what are the profiles? Are they studying English for, let's say, just for getting the grades, or to help their future job or career in the future? And then after that, you need to know the inputs too, where they are at the moment. And then the next one is that, again, go back to the topic that you are teaching. So look for the learning objectives. So give me one example, Bu Heni. What is the topic for your class normally?
As I told you before, sir, there are some topics regarding to engineering, such as materials, tools.
Materials, tools. Materials and tools, okay, okay.
Yeah, materials and tools.
Right. So materials and tools, but because they are learning English, right? They are learning English as MKU, right? So you are helping them to understand about this. Yeah, you can go for vocabulary a lot. You can go for asking them to watch a video or read a text, or even record their own video or vlog. Yeah, and then explain to the class, for example. Do not think much about the English at this time. I believe you understand this too. So I think what is most interesting now is that you can ask them to be more participative. You can ask them to record, for example, you can ask them to go to toko bangunan, for example, or material store, or you can ask them to meet people working for a building, and then you can ask them to review or interview them, and then ask them to put into YouTube or Padlet or YouTube Unlisted if they are not really confident, yeah, or Google Drive, and then in the class you can use them as media. I'm not sure whether you are familiar with landscapes, Ibu Heni. Landscapes to be used as media. Landscapes,
I'm not really familiar.
yeah, okay. So now because it is digital, the term is digital landscapes as English materials or English media for learning. So for example, if you travel, you see signs, yeah, boards, signs, advertisement, they are digital landscapes. Okay, for example, name of a store, yeah, name of a building, or a name of materials or tools, that can be a digital landscapes. Misalnya ada excavator. I'm not sure if it is relevant, yeah, for engineering, yeah. Excavator, that can be a tool, right? You took a picture and then you gave something, and then you can ask them to explain about what that is, and then how it works. Yeah, as simple as that. And then after that, you can use WhatsApp, yeah, one by one. Again, if it is comfortable for your students, because WhatsApp is their everyday life. But you have to have a clear guidelines for this one. Sometimes your students can go anywhere, but then sometimes you can let them to go anywhere too, right? So you know what to do, right? So, or if it is possible and it is easier for you to manage your class, you can use other things. For example, answer garden, yeah, to ask for their own opinion for the first time as a polling, or you can use Slido. Yeah, there are a lot of things. The point is that there are tools, but you have to understand how to use the tools to help the students to achieve the learning goals, to understand the materials. So it doesn't matter with what technology, I think, but again, you have to look at the profiles, and then you have to select which technological tools which are relevant to your context. I think that's what I can answer at the moment, Ibu.
Okay, thank you, Pak Made.
Thank you very much, Bu Heni, for the question and also for the response, Pak Made. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid this is the last question from the audience, yeah, either from the chat box and also from the direct question. Two things that I find very interesting or engaging from this discussion, your points, Pak Made. First is learning or pedagogy first, technology second. I should put that in mind, yeah. And remember, what are we trying to do? Test, measurement, evaluation, or assessment. Very well delivered materials, Pak Made. Thank you so much for being here in between your activities. Hope you have a good time with us also. Sometimes I hope we can have more discussions with you and probably with other experts in language learning. Thank you very much, Pak Made. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of this discussion. I suppose the team has already picked one audience that is that will get the door prize for. I think Mas Panji will announce the name soon, and also we are currently working on the attendance, I believe. So in case you cannot fill it out now, we will distribute the link later in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so stay tuned. All right. And I suppose that's all. Thank you very much for being part of this discussion. Hope to see you all soon. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to you, Mas Panji.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, thank you very much for the keynote speaker and the moderator. Finally, before we end the session, we would like to announce the lucky participant who got the surprise gift. And I've got the names here. The criteria is, wait a minute. Okay, the participant who turned on the camera since the beginning of the session until the committee has choose Ibu Heni Mardia. Yeah, Ibu Heni Mardia, congratulations. You have the gift is free memberships on ESP Teachers Community for 1 year. Yeah, congratulations, Ibu Heni.
Thank you so much, Pak.
All right, everyone. I should remind everybody that we are inviting you again on the next expert sharing session on December 2022. Yeah, so we are going to have another expert sharing session in this December. Yeah, at the end of the year. Now, I think this is the end of our sharing session for today. Till we meet again. May all of you have a nice weekend, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bapak.
Thank you, everyone.
Bapak. Saya pamit.
Thank you, Pak
Thank you,
Made.
everyone.
Thank you, Mbak Eni.
Thank you, Pak Made.
Pak Panji, thank you all.
Thank you very much,
Pak
Pak
Ibu
Made.
Panitia, berarti absennya nanti di WA ya?
Gimana, Pak?
Untuk link absensinya nanti dikirim di WA, ini kan soalnya ada trouble di...
Oh ya, sudah bisa diisi, Pak, link absensi ya.
Zinlet ya, Bu.
Sepertinya masih error, Bu Lulu.
Iya,
Masih
Link absensi sudah bisa diakses.
Sudah. Silahkan.
Ibu Erni, ini sertifikat khusus untuk yang ESP Community, Bu?
Kalau ada yang menginginkan sertifikat, kami tetap memberikan, tapi ada term and condition under the ya, oke.
Nanti dari WhatsApp aja ya, Bu ya.
Silahkan, boleh. Terima kasih ya, Bu ya. Congratulations.
Terima kasih, saya izin pamit, Mbak Lulu.
Terima kasih, Pak Made. Thank you so much.
Sukses.
Ketemu lagi. Terima kasih.
Sukses. Saya nanti join community ini ya, sebagai anggota.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you, Pak Made.
Thank you. Pamit deh.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Pak Panji.
Iya.
Thank you, Mas Panji.
Iya, Ibu.
Silakan linknya sudah bisa diisi ya, link sertifikat.
Oh, okay.